What's up? So, if you're watching this right now, you want to increase your bench press, you want to increase your weightlifting numbers in the gym solely to build muscle, get that aesthetic physique, and actually make sure that you're making progress in the gym and not wasting your time or effort because we know we have a limited amount of both of those. So, this is how you can strength max all of your lifts. Some of the specific details will cater to bench press, but a few fundamentals and formulas will actually support overall gym performance. Okay, so the few things that we're going to be going over is form stability, right? Your form and how you should set yourself up, momentum, small tips on how you can actually explosively push that rep on bench press, muscle hypertrophy versus pure power. This goes over the comparison between just upping your bench to actually building muscle. This is a little bit that you should know. Leg drive, an underlooked tip, fundamentals and formula, how to actually move the bar, and also the formula I'll be giving you so that the next time it's your chest day or your max PR day, you have the formula to be able to max out efficiently without burning yourself out before that one rep personal record, and also under warming up so you're not warm enough and you end up missing your one rep max. And then lastly, extra support like straps, a momentum, a little bit more into that, right? So we're going to be covering all these topics. Be ready to grab a notebook and listen carefully, take down some notes so that you can actually learn how to boost your bench and get real progress in the gym. If you don't know who I am, by the way, my name is Eric Trin. I've been lifting for 5 years and I went from literally 100 pounds in high school to being around 140 now, and I have like a really solid physique for my frame, right? It's not the best, it's not the biggest or smallest, but most people look to me as an inspiration and see my physique as kind of a reference for their dream aesthetic physiques. So I know something, right? Yeah, let's get into it. Those are some credentials. All right. So, first thing, form and stability. So, this is going to be showing you how a solid setup every time can create safe, repeatable presses and maximizes force transfer. You want to try to lift the same weight every single time so that you can um, see progress every single time. The man that's able to do the same things, the same repetitions, the same sort of motion for a long enough period of time and the most times is the one who masters whatever it may be. You're going to be able to now understand these three things that will help you with your stability before you actually bench press. This is for bench press, all right? I'm going to tell you what would be for bench press and what would be for general gym knowledge just so that you understand and are able to apply it. So make sure you take the notes on this. So, tight arch, chest up, shoulder blades retracted, and this will shorten your ROM, which is your range of motion. The range of that, like how much you're extending, and protects you from shoulder pain or injury. Right? We want to take care of our shoulders, and this is just general gym knowledge. Right? If in doubt, put your shoulders back, up, back, and down. Right? That's the best way of assessing form. It's just gonna help you with all lifts. Literally, if it was a pull movement, pressing movement, whatever. If you arch your back and retract your shoulder blades and everything, you'll always feel a bit more stabilized. This takes tension off of your shoulders, which most people injure, right? Currently, I have an injury on my right shoulder and it doesn't feel the same. I trained it very often and it was minor, but looking back at it and throughout all these years, now my shoulder isn't the same. So you need to mitigate it. You need to, especially for bench press as a movement, a lot of people ego lift, and you need to make sure that you are playing it safe. Next thing, eyes leveled, neck down. So imagine you are going, this is for bench press, right? Imagine you're going into the bench your eyes are under the bar, right? It has to be aligned under the bar. You're looking at the bar, and neck down, meaning because so much people, especially me, I struggled with when I benched. And let's say this is the bar, right? I would have the bar, and on the way down, I would put my neck up off of the bench. And this makes it so that you aren't aligning your neck. If you're having your neck this way, you need to have your neck straight. You need to be looking straight and preferably under the bar when you're starting off. So you get your grips, you're looking directly under the bar. Your back is arched. So once you come off, you are centered, you are aligned, and you aren't like so you literally don't look like you have scoliosis when you are bench pressing. And this is going to help you with more safety precautions, or you don't want to hurt your neck. Neck pain is the worst. I've also experienced it. A neutral cervical spine for safe bracing and consistent bar path. Eyes should be straight under the bar starting off for better alignment. Like, you're slowly going to realize that each one of these things is something that I struggle with, because I've also had neck pain from trying to bench press often, multiple times a week. And I had that thing where my neck would go up while I was bringing it down. I hope that you can actually understand this. Make sure that your head is on the bench and it's looking straight, because also sometimes I would look to the side to the plates while I was doing it, and that's not good either. Okay? Next one, feet and wrist. Drive through planted feet. Keep wrists stacked over the forearms. Wrist pain is very, very common. Avoid it by training smart. So your feet should be planted and your wrist should be as straight as possible. And it doesn't say here, but whenever you're doing any pressing or pushing movement, what I always tell everybody that I'm working with one on one, or everybody that asks, is the palm should be where all the pressure is, right? If the pressure's on your fingers, you're going like this, and now you've put 200 pounds on your wrist, and now it's going to snap. Make sure that everything is on this half of your hand, the palm, and that it's straight. So the way that it should look is it's on this, right? It's on this and it's straight, right? It's not like this. It's not over here, because if it's over here, then boom, you're gonna snap your wrist. And as for feet, make sure your feet is down on the ground. Don't have it up on the bench. Don't have it 1 foot up, 1 foot down. And be very conscious about this during the sets, because I see guys start lifting their feet and it goes from up, down, side, side, and I don't even know what they're doing. But it should be planted, it should be stable, right? That's going to help you a lot. This is form and stability. Your back should be arched, your shoulders should be retracted, and this is like you have to be comfortable on the bench press. You're on the bench press right now. Now, your eyes, where should they be? Where should you be on the bench? Your eyes should be at the bar. And this is so that when you start actually doing the reps, you aren't too far away from where the bar is, like, or you don't want to be too high or too low on the bench. And then make sure that you are looking straight the entire time and your neck is aligned with everything, right? Lastly, feet and wrist. Your wrists have to be straight, a huge thing, and your feet must be planted. And so look at these common mistakes that I've also provided for you, in which I've already gave you an explanation on, because of course I've done every single one of these things. And yeah, the few tips that I can give you though is cue a 2-second tension hold after setup before unracking to feel the whole body bracing. If you kind of want to, this is optional. Have your weight on there on the sides. Maybe it's a plate, which is a 45-pound plate, a 25-pound plate, a 35-pound plate, depends on whatever level you're at. Or I don't know, you need to figure out how much you can actually do for, let's say, 10 reps at the start at least. But be in your form, be under the bar, look at it, have your back arched, feel very comfortable before anything, and give it a little push, give a little bit of tension on it and see how it feels. If it feels a little bit off on maybe one side of your body or another, don't do anything. And try putting on somewhat heavy weight. You'll only be able to understand what somewhat heavy weight is once you understand what your max is. But just give it that little tension hold that this is talking about, right? And then a quick drill warm up would be 3 sets of 5 paused reps with lightweight, focusing on setup only. So for me, lightweight would be a 45-pound plate, and I would do that for 5 paused reps because it's obviously not nothing, but it's pretty lightweight for me. And so, depending on where you're at, I think a safe plate range, if you are above the body weight of 140, you definitely can do 25s on each side, guaranteed. The empty bar is good too, but a little weight on there makes it so that you can feel it a bit more on where you should fix. So yeah, this is form and stability. Now for momentum, one of the biggest things that people who regularly bench press use as a way to get that extra rep, actually hit their PRs, and this is just kind of a little hack on explosiveness and strength. All right, so this is where we go over where and how to use explosiveness without sacrificing form. This is the difference between controlled speed and sloppy momentum. So what you want to do is use deliberate explosiveness in the concentric movement, but have a controlled descent. Have an aggressive push. The concentric movement is when you are pushing it. The descent, which is the eccentric, is on the way down. Meaning, the way that the motion should be is an explosive push, right? But then on the way down, you are bracing, you are controlling the eccentric. Using this as a framework will help you with building the strength aspect, or at least being able to know how to cheat the rep. Fully maximize your potential with your strength. Explosive beats raw grind all the time. Here's how to use your momentum without cheating your gains though. So this can cater to either just general gym or your bench press, because the more controlled the eccentric is, the way down, or the lowering of a movement, then that would make it so that it's more of muscle building now. But the more of it it's explosive and more momentum focused, and that it would definitely be in trying to extract the most power out of it you can, and that would be more for bench press. So I'll go over these 3 points. So the controlled eccentric, slow to medium descent to store elastic energy. This overall just keeps you making sure that you're safe on the way down, slow and controlled. And also at the same time, at a muscle building standpoint, it will help you actually have time under tension on the muscles. And if you don't know what that means the time in which, like, on the way down, your muscles are still at work at trying to lower it with the most safety and stability. And so you're still working your muscles the whole entire way down on the movement. That goes for on the way down with a bicep curl. Like, let's say you curl on the way down, your muscles are actually working, and that time under tension is going to help you really tear the muscles and help build it later. Same thing for a shoulder press, right? On the way down is the controlled eccentric. And so now you get the idea. Explosive concentric. Push fast while keeping technique. No bouncing off your chest. A lot of people bounce off their chest to cheat it, and that's exactly what I mean. But an explosive concentric that is controlled is what's better, right? And I'll explain why. Because the thing about it from a muscle building standpoint is the concentric isn't as important as the eccentric. Since the concentric isn't where the muscle is being worked the most, it's only in the eccentric where your muscles are actually being worked, because it's trying to stabilize and make sure the weight doesn't fall. The concentric isn't as important. if you think about it like, okay, the concentric is just you push it, but the eccentric is where the time under tension is, and you get to tear the muscles on the way down, and that's how you're going to be able to build muscle. When you are bouncing it, right, you are fully using the momentum. You are fully just cheating the rep because you're like bouncing it off your chest, and it would feel like you didn't even do the rep. There's a difference, and I'll get into it further with that muscle hypertrophy versus powerlifting. But yeah, don't be bouncing it off the chest. Don't be jerking. Don't try to cheat the rep or anything. Okay? Purposeful momentum used to train power and bar speed, not to hide poor technique. That's what I'm saying. So these 3 points, the controlled eccentric is what actually builds muscle from a muscle building standpoint, but also for bench pressing, it's gonna help you kind of stabilize yourself and make sure that you're not dropping the weight on yourself and injuring yourself. Explosive concentric, when it's controlled, is what actually going to push the weight. So remember how your form is going to have to be. It's going to be a explosive push, and then on the way down it's slow. So boom, on the way down it's slow. Think about it like this so that you can actually get it through your head how your form should be. And this is going to be how the motion would be for bench press and a lot of other movements. Okay, so these are the common mistakes. Bouncing bar off chest. You lose the control, and like that's going to promote injury. You shouldn't be doing that. And speed with collapsed upper back. So if your shoulders are rounded and you're going with speed and not the actual momentum or how it should be, you're going to prime yourself for injury as well. That's going to make it worse. And a few tips would be start with the light load once again for some speed sets. So 6 to 8 reps to build neural drive. Practicing the motion of the movement will eventually help you with your PR. The way that you warm up and the way that you use the light load should look the exact same as if you were PRing with some heavy weights. Okay? And I'll give you the drill as well. The drill you can also then follow is 4 sets of 6, the bar speed reps at 50 to 60% of your 1 rep max with short rest. So before anything, know your 1 rep max and just have it as a base, okay? And then you do 60% or like 50 to 60% of that weight for that 4 sets of 6, okay? Of these speed reps. And so you're going boom, sh, boom, sh, boom, sh. You know what I mean? That's what you do. Let me explain it here. Muscle hypertrophy versus pure power. So the powerlifters, right? You oftentimes see powerlifters that compete, they don't look big. Some of them don't even look like they work out. And that's only because of the way that they've used that momentum with extreme explosiveness. And that doesn't ever really promote muscle gain. Because if you're exploding it off of you and you're using that momentum to like, there's a difference between me pressing up a shoulder press and me pressing up a shoulder press, right? There's a difference because pressing it, if I am going back down and pushing it up, right? I didn't feel it in my shoulders in the slightest, right? All I've done was go like, push, and now I'm standing up here, and then I just drop it. Versus for muscle hypertrophy, you are ready and pressing it up. I'm moving no other muscle other than my shoulders in this, right? As you can tell. Now I'm more stationary. And then on the way down, I'm slowly controlling it, right? That is what I mean by muscle hypertrophy versus pure power, what powerlifters do. This is what results in no muscle build. The training split between hypertrophy and power, and why elite power athletes often don't look big. Power would mean the nervous system. A lot of people overlook this key point. And hypertrophy is for that volume and metabolic stress when you're stressing the muscle. So that time under tension that I spoke about is what powerlifters lack. Okay, they don't necessarily use that because it's not a requirement for them to do that. They only care about pushing more numbers. For muscle building, this would be literally muscle building versus powerlifting, okay? And bench press in itself is kind of in the middle, but bench pressing is one of the powerlifting movements. I don't tell you this to ignore powerlifting as a whole. You can use principles from powerlifting, like I've just told you, to increase your strength. But of course, at the end of the day, if you aren't building muscle, then there's no reason to that. The secret thing is, though, if you're building strength properly, you will be building muscle as well. Muscle follows the strength, I promise you. So, breaking down the 3 points here is power training, low reps, and high intensity, meaning you're focusing on neural adaptations, speed, and efficiency. This is honestly the principle that I go for when I train overall, right? Low reps, meaning around 6 to 8, 6 to 10. High intensity, meaning very heavy weight. And I'm doing it until absolute failure. What I want to highlight is more of a mix of both of these things and the way of which the motion of the movement is. For hypertrophy, it's higher volume and moderate load. So this requires time under tension, progressive overload, and more sets, which is not necessarily true. You don't really need more sets. You do need time under tension and you do need a progressive overload. But that's achievable with lower reps and heavy weights. Okay? And now, this is just the general for hypertrophy, for purely muscle building and what most people do. And these are just examples. Body composition and specialization. Competitive powerlifters prioritize weight classes and strength, not maximal muscle size. Remember this. So, yes, you're going for strength. Yes, you're going for your numbers to go up in the gym. So, yes, you should take principles from powerlifting, but why does that matter if you're not building muscle as well? So why don't you want the best of both worlds? Okay, so how I would present this to you is combine both block periods of hypertrophy, 8 to 12 weeks to build size, then convert strength with power focused weeks. This is one way you can do this, but a personal way that I do this is this: have your low reps, have your high intensity doing heavier weights, but make sure that the way in which you are repping it out, you are having it time under tension and not explosiveness all the time. You are pressing up and you have that time under tension. And as for progressive overload, which is another topic, in the simplest form, it is just you progressing every week with your strength. That is it. So remember those two things, okay? And that's how you get the best of both worlds. Literally, in that way of training, you're getting that time under tension when you are controlling the eccentric, and you'll inevitably progressive overload with your lifts and be able to do heavier weights if you continue to work in this framework. All right? So, that's what I recommend for you. And here is a key reminder: moving the weight doesn't mean you're actually training the muscle. There's a difference between moving the weight and training your muscles. Okay? The missing factor in just moving the weight is that stress and time under tension on your muscles. I want you to really write this down, really understand this. Okay? And this is just a suggestion, but don't have to do this. 6 to 10 weeks hypertrophy, and then 6 to 8 weeks strength and power. Don't have to do this. You can do this another way. Leg drive, pretty undervalued. So using the legs to create a stable, explosive press. Timing and direction of force to give more power in your press. Push the feet into the floor and drive the hips to transfer power into the bar. That's kind of the idea of it. You're going to hear this term when you're actually deep into lifting weights and being a bodybuilder, I guess, or powerlifter. But leg drive is a crucial aspect that I just want to go over just because people don't really talk about it. Leg drive in itself is where you're using your legs to be able to have more of like stability on the concentric. Like, so the best way I can describe it through my personal experience is my glutes are tightened and I am kind of trying to dig from my heels and have tension on my legs and kind of try to push from the ground as I am pushing the weight up. So I'm only activating my leg drive when it's on the concentric movement. So I'm going upwards, right? And this kind of makes it so that you feel a bit more strength and you're using your entire body to push that weight. This is another way, another small tip to boost your strength. Because let's say you take the leg drive out of the equation and on your bench press, right? You have your feet up. People do this. All you're using is your upper body. There is a significant difference in your performance. I guarantee it. So that's exactly why you want your feet planted down on the floor flat and pointing the right way. And then by using leg drive, you are in your head. So this is what I want you to imagine when you're under that bench press bar. In your head, you are trying to stomp your feet down on the ground as hard as you can. Not actually stomp it, but like you're pressing down with your feet through your heels. Your glutes are tight, your hips are a little bit up, and like you're trying to push it with all your strength. And that's the small idea of how leg drive kind of works and looks like. Okay? Plant the feet, knees under hips slightly, strong heel connection. The timing of it, initiate leg drive at the start of the concentric, a coordinated full body push and direction. Push feet to drive hips and lock the upper back into the bench, not to rock the hips wild. This is exactly the framework that you should be working under. Common mistakes, okay? Kicking feet back. This loses all your stability. And also using leg drive too late. This is a mistransfer and this is awkward. It's all about timing with this. The way that once it hits the chest, you are pushing up and you also use your feet at the same time and it activates at the same time. It's all about timing. It's all about doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And this is what's going to help you the most. Drill. Your drill for this would be 3 sets of 5 reps, focusing on leg drive only. So pause at the chest, then drive with the feet. You can use lighter weight, but I would say use a middle weight, right? Lighter weight, the term of lighter weight would just mean like not heavy ass weight that you're going to do for your sets of like 6 to 8 repetitions. Do a weight that you can do for 10 reps above. That's what lighter weight is. So yeah. Now, here's the fundamentals and the formula. Okay, so there's one small aspect that I wanted to separately go over for the way that the motion of the movement would be for bench press specifically. This is for bench press. Simple, repeatable programming and the basic J motion bar path. At the end of this, you'll also get the kind of workout routine for it that you can do. So, J motion bar arcs slightly towards lower chest. Here's a formula of bench press with a mix of rep ranges 10, 8, 5, 3, 1 plus accessories. The J motion, I will go over the J motion. All this is, the bar descends vertically, then slightly back and down to hit under the chest before a short, powerful arc up. So much people fail because they think that bench pressing is just up and down straight, right? But when you're benching, you're not going up and down, right? You have to rack it from your eyes. You can't be benching from like, I don't know if you can see this, but you can't be benching like this, right? What you're doing as a J motion is this. So it's up and you're going down to about under your chest, your lower chest. That's where you're hitting. Boom. That's what I mean by J. You know why? Because you're making a J when you're doing that. You are making a J, not an exaggerated J, but this is more of a natural motion in which you should be doing the movement. Okay? Boom. You're hitting your lower chest. We will go over everything at the end of this to make sure you understand. Now, rep scheme. This is the framework that you can use in the gym now. Okay? Work through 5 sets of 10 reps, 8 reps, 5 reps, 3 reps, and 1 rep max to train hypertrophy, strength, and peaking. This is the setup to your all-time PR, your personal record. This is the exact thing I've used for years for me to warm up on bench press to build up to my 1 rep max. And I've continued to PR after PR again and again. And that's how I got to bench pressing 225 at 17 years old. I've used this for all of my years of lifting. Accessory volume. Finish with 2 sets of 10 on pressing accessories for balance. And now, yeah, you can also, after this, still do your working sets because this doesn't deplete your energy. All you need is some adequate time to recover, and then you can go back to actually working out. You can do this before your workouts, and it won't really mess up your performance. And you can still do an entire chest day, an entire back day, whatever it may be. So use the 10-to-1 ladder as a weekly or block progression, not every session. Don't do this every single time, okay? Do this once a week on a Monday, do this once a week on a Friday. It doesn't matter what it is, but once a week, and you're doing this and you're PRing to understand where you lay with your strength, you're measuring your strength on a regular basis, is what's going to help you with progression and consistency. So furthermore on how the workout works is the 10 reps that you're doing will be 60% of your previous max personal record. The 8 is going to be at 65, the 5 is 75, the 3 is 85. This is where it gets heavy, right? This is where you start applying it as well. And then the 1 rep max at 92 to 97. And you can even do another one at an all-time new PR. And then some accessories afterwards you can do is 2 sets of 6 for rows, or 2 sets of 6 to 10 for tricep pushdowns. And this is just a little exercise afterwards that you can do. Okay, don't have to do this, but what you want to mainly focus on is that main ladder of building up to your bench press. For reference, this is exactly what I do to get to 225. My 10 reps is 135 pounds, so that's a 45-pound plate on each side with a 45-pound bar. My 8 reps is not accurate, but maybe 10s on each side. My 5 reps is another 10 on both sides, so that's 20 on top of that. So a 45-pound plate and a 20 on both sides. My 3 is going to be a 5, another 5 on top of that. So that's 185 pounds now. And then my 1 rep max is 225. So once again, it is 135, 155, 175, 185, and then now 225. That's my setup. That's how I do it. Not down to the accurate percentage, but this builds up and this doesn't fatigue you. I'm having rest in between. Before I do that 1 rep max, I'm having like 5 minutes of rest so that I can actually feel the best I can to going for that 1 rep bench press. And every single week, I never fail to build more on top of that. I would never fail to hit new PRs, and this is exactly how you do it. So more extra support that you can use to better your experience, help you with safety. These tools and techniques can help you perform safely, right? Straps, controlled momentum, and you can use it sometimes. Use support tools to enhance training quality, not to mask for bad form. Once again, so straps and wraps, I personally basically never use them, only because I like the idea of being like raw with it and I'm just using my body to push some heavy weight. But there's such a significant difference with stability and kind of removing tension off your muscles. So if you are solely doing it for the numbers, then use straps. Like, it's going to help you mitigate any injury. Like, this is the safest way you can lift. Using straps like elbow wraps, wrist straps, and a lifting belt, you're not going to be damaging your elbows, your wrist, or your lower back, right? A lot of common injuries are this. Use this to your advantage and use it if you'd like, but please don't depend on it. Don't be that guy to depend on it. You don't need this shit. Now, for lifting your ass, this is a small little thing that's personal for me. I don't think much people would talk about this, but this is such a cheat code, right? Purposeful momentum. Understand the difference between control drive and a sloppy cheat. But lifting ass, and what it is when you're doing the concentric movement of pressing it, this is for bench press. When you're pressing it off of the bench and you're doing it, when you lift your ass and use your leg drive, like your ass is physically off of the bench press and you are arching even more, that removes some tension that you would get on your shoulders or your lower pec. And I literally feel like I'm cheating now because that's the full use of my entire body. And it's almost like whenever I'm close to failing, I all I do is lift my ass off of the bench press, and then it's like there's a plus 10 boost of strength, and I can lift it myself even though I was close to failing the rep, right? So this is like such a little cheat code, and you should not use this. This is probably not the best way, but I still want it in here because it's helped me with many PRs, helped me with many times where I was about to fail, and then I lifted my ass up off of the bench press and had an even bigger arch on my back, and it helped me get the weight up and actually fully complete the rep and be fine. And I'll give you one to use. So use supports during heavy sets, peaking or rehabbing. Avoid on techniques focused light days. And for safety, never sacrifice joint position for more weight. Straps are for grip support, not to cover structural weakness. Don't be dependent. I've said this already. I'm always one step ahead of my notes. That's crazy. Quick rule: if a tool makes a bad repeatable pattern feel okay, fix the pattern. Then reintroduce the tool. All right? So this is what's going to help you practice being independent with it. In conclusion, but before we get into this, I want to break down everything so that, tying together leg drive with the form, right? So, the way that you're doing this, let's say you're in the gym, you're going to that bench press, you're about to start your sets. Let's say you have some light weight on there where you can do for 10 reps, but it's like, you go under, eyes level to the bar, shoulders are back and retracted, back is arched, okay? Grip, wrists are straight and they're on the bar where something's comfortable and even, right? Everything feels comfortable. Feet are planted on the floor flat, all right? Now, you unrack the eccentric. You're targeting your lower chest. You push back up. The concentric is explosive. The eccentric on the way back down is slow and controlled. And if you'd like, you're using leg drive with it. This is the framework. Have a spotter with you as well. But this is the framework. This is all you need to know on how to properly bench. There should now be no holes in your form, in the way that you do it, and now you understand how to bench press, and you also have a little bit of an understanding how good form works. Okay? But what I want to lastly go over is the fact that this information gives you a baseline and better understanding of proper training to help you sustainably improve for the rest of your fitness journey. These are the small skills coming from years of experience from experts that make a huge difference in your weightlifting performance. You can safely and effectively move forward to elevate with your fitness without injury, wasted time, or effort. But remember this moving forward. None of this matters if nutrition isn't dialed in and you don't take action. What do I mean by this? You could only build so much muscle before you actually need to dial in your nutrition, okay? It doesn't matter if you're not giving your muscles what's required for it to grow back stronger and bigger. Most guys think the gym is all it takes for you to build muscle. Muscle isn't built in the gym, bro. It's built outside of the gym when you're resting, recovering, and giving it the proper nutrition like into your muscles so that it can come back stronger. The gym is just where you tear it down. You build it up outside of the gym. And lastly, if you don't take action, none of this information matters if you don't take action. Learning, you learned all this, right? You attained all this knowledge, but learning means same circumstance, different outcome. But if you don't take action, you have had the same circumstances, you've had a little bit of information, but you don't have a different outcome because you have not applied the knowledge. Okay? You can only progress so much before you need to understand dieting and macro manipulation to increase your performance. And if you're watching this just to know and not apply, you're wasting your time. All right? So I'm telling you this, I've given you so many call to actions on how you should be doing this, and if you haven't written any of them down, you are behind, bro. The people who are writing it down and structuring it and scheduling out the next days that they're gonna apply this knowledge into the gym, they're the ones who are actually gonna make faster progress because they started before you did. So take your notes, go back and watch this video if you need to, and apply the knowledge. All right, lock in, and I hope all of you transform. Get to it.